The old king had 3 incredibly handsome sons, but they were all bachelors. One day he called his sons to him. He took out 3 sticks from his arms and threw them into the sky, and said to the sons, "In which direction each of you is pointing the stick? You must go in that direction to find your wives." The first son's stick pointed to the baron's castle. The second son's stick pointed to the count's castle, but the younger son's stick pointed in the direction of a lush green forest. So the 3 princes, urged to marry by their old father, went off in their own direction. The young prince walked into the forest with his head down. He had no idea how he was going to find a wife here, but soon he met a little cat. The cat kept chasing the little prince and meowing. Tired of being pestered, the little prince, so he told him that he was looking for a wife in the forest. To his surprise, the little cat spoke with a human voice after hearing it. He said he could marry him. The prince was shocked, directly refused this ridiculous proposal. But the little cat cried, and cried. The prince had to agree to marry the little cat. That's how he got out of the forest. By the time he returned to the palace, his brothers had returned. The first prince had found the baron's daughter. The second prince also fell in love with the earl's daughter. Only the young prince, when asked by the king, he kept his mouth shut, said they would know when the time came. The king, who was not sure, ordered his 3 sons to go to the bride and bring back a bouquet of flowers. The 2 brothers set off in high spirits. The little prince had to go to the forest again with his head down. The little cat was already waiting for him. The little prince told the king's request in frustration, but after hearing the request, the little cat, he told the prince with a relaxed face not to worry. Then with a wave of his paws, the prince fell into a black field of sleep. After the prince fell asleep, the little cat came to a hole in the tree to sharpen its claws. After a while, a lot of little cats came out of the tree hole. One cat was holding a golden flower. One cat was holding a silver flower. The third cat was holding a diamond flower. The bride of the flower cat used her claws to gather all the flowers into a bunch. In the palace at that moment, the brothers had returned with the flowers. The king praised them for their beautiful flowers, but when they saw the sparkling bouquet of jeweled flowers in the little prince's arms, they almost blinded their 6 eyes. They all asked who the little prince's wife was, but the little prince still did not say much. So the king asked his 3 sons to get a handkerchief from the bride. When the little prince came to the forest with his head down, the little cat was waiting there again. The little prince was now at his wit's end, expecting a cat to weave a handkerchief. This is too unscientific. The little cat waved his paw after hearing this. The little prince fell into a deep sleep again. He ran to the hole in the tree and started scratching the tree trunk. In a short time, several kittens appeared with gold and silver threads and diamond threads. The bride waved her little paws. Soon the threads were woven into a beautiful handkerchief. Sure enough, when the little prince returned to the palace, he became the brightest of his brothers again. But he still did not dare to tell his father and brother the identity of the bride. Soon it was the day of the wedding. The king asked his sons to bring the bride to the palace. Both brothers went happily. Only the youngest son was anxious. What should he tell his father? His daughter-in-law was a cat. The young prince ran to the forest. He told the news to the little cat waiting there. To his surprise, the little cat didn't panic at all. Instead, he waved his paws and knocked the little prince out again. But this time he brought the prince to the tree cave. The cave grew taller and taller. It soon turned into a treehouse castle. The little cat also became a beautiful princess. The princess was cursed by magic and turned into a little flower cat. Only when someone wanted to marry her, she could only change back to her original form. The princess took the little prince to her carriage. This carriage is actually pulled by 12 horses at the same time. When she saw such a magnificent carriage, she thought that the king of the neighboring country had arrived. But when the carriage arrived, it was his youngest son and his bride who came down. The bride was an incredibly beautiful princess. Everyone was very surprised. So the young prince and his 2 brothers together, they held a grand wedding in the palace. The wedding banquet was held from one country to another.